Yes, okay. I am Mr. IC3BLACK. So I'll give some explanation why I identify as Mr. IC3BLACK. This is an introduction into the British race and ethnicity codes and how these codes could be used in a useful way to help the so-called black or African community. So this here, I've illustrated, these are the race codes. So there's the British standard race codes, which the police use, yes? And then there's also the ethnicity codes. See? So there's a difference between race and ethnicity. And the codes for race and ethnicity are different. So these are the race codes. This is a simplified version of the ethnicity codes. But the full ethnicity codes, as used by the Office of National Statistics, are here. So when the government speaks about black people or white people, when the government is using that language, the government is very specific. The government has that language codified. They know exactly what they're speaking about when they say black people or white people. It's codified. And these are the codes. So British racial and ethnicity language is the most precise, I would say, in the world. Yeah? So, these are the race codes. Now, so what? Why learn about the race and ethnicity codes? What use are they? They're useful for the so-called black community to plan to counter racism and white supremacy, if such a thing as institutional racism exists. And if it does, what is it? So, we are using the race codes as a way to organize an IC3 black nation. Why? Because the IC3 forms a black identity belt giving birth to the IC3 black nation to get reparations for the establishment of black people, African colonialism, and the Arab slave trade. Am I reading this? For the enslavement, reparations for the enslavement of black people, African colonialism, and the Arab slave trade. So when dealing with the issue of racism and colonialism and reparations, you have to be able to speak in clear language. You have to use the racial language, the ethnicity language that the governments understand and recognize. If the British government are using these codes for communication, when we use this language, they cannot deny and say, well, we don't know what you're talking about or who you're talking about. Yes? So IC3 forms a black identity belt uniting the Negro world to get reparations for the enslavement of black people, African colonialism, and the Arab slave trade. See? And in order to unify Africa effectively, you have to have some form of identity that is clear. See? So IC3 is an identity code that unifies African identity while conserving the different cultures of Africa. IC3 forms the true African union for the defense and prosperity of the continent and the African diaspora. So that is why I'm raising awareness of the race and ethnicity codes in order so we can then start to communicate and organize effectively. If there's no clarity in terms of identity, then there can be no effective organization. So by using the codes, we can then set up a bank, a central bank, a black bank. Because what's the point in getting reparations to pay into Barclays or Santander or Lloyd's? There has to be a black sovereign bank and a sovereign nation to receive the reparations that are due to the people classified as black and who have historically been classified as many other things, as slave, as stock, as many other things. But that code IC3 covers the stock identification, if we were just classified as stock or animals, and it also covers how they see people. If they're going to say that we're human, we're not stock anymore, we're human beings. Well, either way it goes, the IC3 covers the stock issue or the human issue. And so by clarification of one's identity, you can then organize effectively. And what are the elements of identity? What are the factors that people see are significant when deciding on a person's identity? Birthplace, people see as significant. Lineage, who are your family, your grandparents, and so on. Yeah? Appearance, what do you look like? Yes? State of mind, what's the way your culture, your habits, your values, your tastes, yeah? That all comes in under state of mind. Yes? And now we have DNA. So with these 5 elements or aspects of identity, we can really clarify identity and then organize effectively. So the word African is not strong enough. The word black is not strong enough because anybody can say, oh, we're all African. If you say, well, black, that's not strong enough either because black can mean politically black. See? So many people can take on the identity of, to call themselves black or politically black. Many people, different types of people, even Asian people can call themselves African because, there's Asians that were put in Africa by the British. So they can claim to be African. So the word African, the word black, is not strong enough. But if we use codes, see, when we talk about IC3, we're specific. We're not talking about Asian people. We're not talking about Chinese people. We're not talking about white people. We're talking about IC3BLACK. Clarity. So if you have clarity, you can then start to organize and find a solution to the problems that black people suffer because you can organize effectively. It's part of British identity. I had a big blow up of these charts, and I used to go around to different conferences. And I went to a conference, and I was showing this, and this black lady came up to me, and she said, oh, that looks about right. I said, what? I hardly met anybody who knows anything about this. She says, yes. And then I said, well, who are you? And she said that she was a top consultant for the police, top consultant for the police. And I said, well, I've been trying to find out the history of these codes. Who created them? When were they created? What are the names of the people? What were the minutes of the meeting in the decision process and so on? And she says, well, you'd have difficulty finding out that. And I've been trying to find out the history of it. And she says, this is based off the Bible. It's based off an interpretation, I would say a white supremacist interpretation of the Bible, because it's based off the 3 sons of Noah. And they said the 3 sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Shem represents, so the original codes were just three: white people, black people, and other. Yes? So the three sons of Noah would be Shem, Ham, so Ham is the father of all black people, and Japheth. Japheth is the father of all white people. So that's what these codes are based on. So then they upgraded the codes and added another three. So you have basically six. Yeah. So originally it was just white people, black people, and other Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then they've refined the system, the racial system, to include another three. So you got IC1 to IC6, whilst originally it was just 1, 2, and 3 of the three sons of Noah, but now you have IC1 to IC6, and then the IC7 is the unknown. So that's the basis. This whole system, this British system, is based off an interpretation, a racist interpretation of the Bible. Keep firing the questions, because I'm going to put that challenge there. You will not find a question that's going to stop this project. I can answer every question based on the foundation of racism. So you have to reverse engineer. In order to find a solution, you have to find what are we in? What's the matrix that we're in? Understand the matrix, and then you can understand the solution for people classified as black.